Hey all, I'm going to go with some noir lighting here just to make it interesting. Keep it interesting. All right, so as we approach exam 1, multiple choice, a couple of pro tips on sort of best practices. Now look, these are best practices. I recognize that you have maybe other classes, you have families, you have a social life, you have work. I get it. So I'm just saying this is like best practice. And it'd be kind of like Plato's ideal form, if I could throw in a little political philosophy. Plato had this concept of the ideal form, which is sort of this concept of what's perfection, like what's the perfect chair. Right? And you sort of build that up in your mind as to what that would be. Right? And then there's no chair in the real world that's ever going to match that. Right? So it's going to come up short. But the idea is, right, having an ideal form sort of helps you go in the right direction to get the best chair possible. Same thing here. The more nearly you can approach best practices on exam 1, the better you're likely to do. No guarantees. So, a couple things. Obviously, you want to take those practice quizzes. All right? Because I'm going to be drawing from those questions pretty heavily. Pro tip. Second strategy. I would print off the narrated slides, print them off by accessing the PowerPoint version of those slides and not the video version. Print off the slides. Have them with you when you take the exam. All right, so I'll be drawing a lot of the questions from those slides. Review those chapter by chapter study guides, chapters 1, 2, and 3 of our text. Make sure you're familiar with, as many of those terms as possible. And I would have the book with you when you take the exam. Because, you're going to have enough time where you can cross-reference things. Right? Some of those questions you might know right away. Get those filled in quickly. But others, right, you might need to cross-reference your book or your notes or the slides that you've printed off or what have you. All right, and then, right, I would watch those videos that I post at the top of each module to introduce the concepts. Yeah, those would be my pro tips. And they always say, don't agonize too long over any one question. Because if you start to agonize over it and say, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, you sort of trip yourself up. And studies have shown that when you agonize too long on one question and go back and forth, you're more likely to get it wrong. I'm not saying, take the first idea that pops into your head. Make sure you understand the question. And make sure you understand the possible answers. And then make a choice. And if you need to cross-reference your slides that you've printed off or your book, do that. Here's the point, I guess. I'm not trying to be tricky. Don't look for hidden meaning in these questions. I'm trying to make them as straightforward as possible. Sometimes students overthink and overcomplicate some of these questions. All right, so we got the narrated slides, the videos that I'm posting. We have the book. We have the study guides. We have the videos, if I already said that, sorry. All right, so those are my pro tips for how to maximize your performance on exam 1, multiple choice. Thanks.